Hello and welcome to edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, reboot, re-strategize, restructure, reformat before we rebuild a new normal, a new life. In the world of higher education, particularly, the two facets which are critical to enable us to encounter the challenges, find creative solutions, and more importantly, create opportunities, are one which stems from the past experience, past knowledge. And the second facet would be the future, pliability, embracing it, evolving with it, and anticipating it. And to do both of those with one mind makes a very wise chancellor. And we have a very wise one with us today, Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay from the Sister Nivedita University in Kolkata. What a pleasure to have you, sir, with us. The University of Sister Nivedita has built itself a high repute in a short period of time. Tell us how and why.
First of all, I think that in the last 2 years, from the very beginning, when this particular university been established, we have certain things in our mind that how to progress with our education. And from the very beginning, we tried to actually have this learning management system with open sources and MOOCs in our program itself. So what happened, that students could get more or less an very updated curricula as well as the teaching. I look at this situation when this corona, the virus, which is submicroscopic, you cannot see without electron microscope, is actually make all of us actually completely in a mess. And there, one very important thing it looks like that it's just like the nature is putting us in front of a corona test. We forgot a lot of things actually. The things which should be within us, we became very, very materialistic and also consumer oriented. Now here I just want to mention that Sister Nivedita and Swami Vivekananda taught us that education should lead and not follow. And it should always equip us for the future and not keep us chained to the past. It must be the domain of the greatest creativity and not be the slave of habit. If education has to help usher in tomorrow, it should not be afraid of change. And in that philosophy, when this total challenge has been put forward in front of us, whereby we could see that there are three different keywords: the new realities, new challenges, and the new normal are in front of us. So how to use that philosophy in putting this up? And that itself helped us for the last 2 years to develop. We always try to give our students the best, not only with respect to the knowledge, but with respect to the ethical values, with respect to their different types of extracurricular activities. And this, we are talking about choice-based credit systems and other things, but we actually incorporated that from the very beginning so that the students can opt for the different types of subjects as per their wishes.
Well, that's, so obviously what you're suggesting is the need for holistic education. And I'm so happy that you brought that up and, you are addressing that because at the end of it all, that is what's going to make the difference. It's not the textbook, and it's not only what you teach, it's how you teach and how well you ensure that the learning happens. I think that, and perhaps even the virus is teaching us that learning has to be a responsibility of various factions of education. It's not just the teacher, not just the student, it's the parent as well, it's the principal as well, it's the vice chancellor as well. And as long as
Yes.
each of us are open to learning, there's no way that we'll not succeed. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. You know, that when all of a sudden that lockdown been announced and we have to shut the university, though we have this online education management system, but the practice of the faculty members and the students to avail this opportunity was pretty less. And when from management we have requested that everything should be online now onwards, there is a huge resistance. So they started up thinking, oh, internet connections will be a problem. Oh, that will be a problem. This will be a problem. The teachers are not ready with it. Though this is there for last 2 years, but we cannot actually impose this. This is a philosophy that we wanted that these particular platforms are available. We should use this. But now there is no choice. So they have to use it. And within 15 days, I can tell you, there is a complete change in mindset. So the first challenge in front of us is the mindset. Mindset of us, mindset of faculties, mindset of the students, mindset of the parents. All four fronts are equally responsible for giving so much of resistance to this particular type of education and could not get the actual fruits out of it. Now, when they could realize that in a class, it is possible to have quizzes. In a class, the interactions are going to be much, much higher. In a class, the backbenchers who never responded, they are coming up with questions. Because earlier, everybody is thinking what the others, if this is a silly question, the others will react on it.
Right.
But when I am from home, I am not. I can ask any question. So all these things are slowly coming up in a way so that after the, say for example, 45 days, I could find, it becomes pretty popular. I really understand the problem of the bandwidth. I really understand the problem with the internet connections. They're looking at the things that we have to unlearn a lot of things and we have to relearn a lot of things.
Right. How beautifully put, sir. How beautifully put. And I'm so glad that you're bringing all this out from Kolkata. In fact, I had the fortune of being born and brought up there and having my early education in Kolkata. And, in that capacity, this change in mindset was the first thing that we had learned when we heard Rabindranath Thakur's famous poem, "Where the mind is without fear." And I think that was a huge catalyst in us opening up our mind. And I'm so glad to see educationists like you paying credence to that. And the need to be flexible is also what is critical. But flexibility is not only a question of mind, it's also a question of curriculum. To make it relevant, to make it responsive to the external environment. And also for new career opportunities. So how are you changing and being flexible on that front?
That is what we are facing right now is the new realities. You know that when we are looking at what is going to be in future, availability of employments, if we look at the nature of the jobs, complete change in the job profiles also, we need an understanding of how to digitalize the whole thing. In the science and technology, the major challenge is the practicals. How we are going to do the practicals, because if the students cannot do the practicals, how they are going to learn. Now, so the concept of the virtual labs, which are there, IITs are there, the programs are there. Nobody practiced it. Now we started to practice it. And now we could get the fruits out of it. In remote corner of the colleges and university where the sophisticated instruments are not available, with the help of the virtual lab, you can make the students understand about that. So earlier we cannot have that in the curricula, but right now I can actually teach those things. So while doing this particular for the last 3 months, one thing I always sharing with my faculties, think about how to be creative about the next academic session, because there we can have our new academic curricula. And that new academic curricula should incorporate what is possible, what is not. The new curricula should also accommodate the new concepts in the job availability, in the employability of the students. We are talking for the last 1 year, Education 4, Education 4.0, but how much we achieved. But I can tell you that in this short period of time, we started. It's almost looked that the corona pandemic catalyzed the whole situation.
Right.
To move forward in a much faster way.
I salute you for actually looking at the opportunity in the crisis, and that's quite brilliant. And that's really what I would have wanted from my Vice Chancellor were I studying in Sister Nivedita University at this point of time. And hopefully maybe I'll pick up a course sometime. It's never too late to learn, is it? That having been said, a lot of learning is also happening across all levels. Professor Chattopadhyay, it's happening for students, parents, teachers. It's also happening for the government, and also the Supreme Court. And to such extent, because there's a lot of discord between the state government, the center governments, within the policies of scrapping examinations, of delaying, opening up of institutions. And there has been various voices because opinions are galore in this country. And there are always two sides of the coin, the pluses and the minuses. So are you happy with the way you think things have panned out from the pure governance angle?
Yes, we are going to change the curricula. We'll look at the curricula from the other side. But with respect to governance, what I can tell you, that the first and foremost important thing is that how the teaching pedagogy is going to be changed. Only then actually we can get to know about. So normally how we look at the examination. So immediately the question comes about, we have to test what the students understand. That right now with the help of quiz, with the help of regular assessments, we can get to know that where we stand, whether the students could understand. The students are coming up with so many new things. And this is actually a huge learning for us. And that helps in our governance part with respect to examination also. Now, when you said that examination, complete change. So far, what we look at examination, we try to actually judge the students' mugging capacity. But no, we have to try to examine what they understood and how that particular understanding could be implemented. I remember my presidency days. At that period of time, almost 45 years back, our physical chemistry faculty teacher came and said, I want to take an examination, but that should be an open book examination. He said, consult the library, go to library and answer these questions. The questions we couldn't answer when the books are in front of us. And that actually helped me to understand how to look at the book, how to read the book, and how to answer the questions. It's not just a notes given by the faculty members. It's not just what they are saying. It has to my understanding, my interaction with teacher, books, everything. And that is one of the most important things with respect to the governance part. The second thing with respect to the governance part is that, the whole thing is actually, we have to do it in isolation. And because we have to maintain social distancing, we have to have mask corners, we have to interact in such a way, all these things are going to be maintained by a strict vigilance, discipline, and other things. Is that going to actually affect our natural things even? And thereby, it will actually give us an understanding also. So with respect to the examination, with respect to the class teaching, change in the class teaching, also with respect to the curricula, our particle, all these things, discipline, everything is going to be a challenge for our governance part.
Right. Now, you mentioned your days in presidency. I wanted to mention some more of your days because I know that you had a very intriguing career. So I need to understand Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay, the professional. Talk us through your career so far. Inspire those who are watching this show.
It's an interesting journey for me. In our time, people used to take that getting engineering in IIT is going to be the best thing for us to start our career. So when we just qualifying from the higher secondary, and as usual, I got chance in IIT in the final day when I'm supposed to go to IIT with my friends, also boarded the train for Kharagpur. But this is a train which is actually going to Bankura also. Kharagpur is one of the stoppage. And I didn't get down in Kharagpur, went into Bankura. So when my parents started talking about, at that time mobiles are not there, nothing is there. So when I called them in the afternoon, they said, are you settled in your hostel? I said, no, I have not gone there. What? I said, yes, I don't want to study engineering. I want to study basic science. And what my father said, oh, I am so relieved that you have taken that decision. I also never wanted you to do that. And I'm so happy. And in the meantime, when I took the admission in Presidency College, the Presidency College at that time has got so much of turmoils and everything.
Right.
But that turmoil itself helped us to learn so many things actually, to go to the books, to understand the books much more, because most of the classes are not being held, to actually interact in a different manner totally with our academics. Everything actually, that particular period helped me so much to be socially conscious as well as academically much more understanding. So while doing that particular career, in the meantime, I was thinking what I'm going to do in my post-graduation. So at that time, Hargobind Khurana, a few years back, got the Nobel Prize. He's also from chemistry. And in his lecture, he mentioned about that the life chemistry is the most challenging one. So I thought, instead of running to the chemistry, why don't I go to biochemistry? I took biochemistry in my post-graduation. And then, my father is actually retiring and he's the only earning member. So while my final examination is going on, I have given the probationary officer in SBI and I got selected. Still remember that date, 7th of March. I'm supposed to join as a probationary officer in State Bank of India. The same thing happened like Kharagpur IIT. I didn't join. And all my relatives are very upset with it because it's a pressure on my father. But father, very happy. And I joined Bosch Institute to start my research. And that research itself ignites within me. And that research is on viruses. So I love the viruses also. The PhD, the post-graduation in virology from United States, came back, joined Calcutta University, started to teach virology. So that's why my dream, actually, I could find that if you want, it will be, I am going to be the most happiest person. When I'm coming back from the United States, all my mentors in the United States, they said, going to Calcutta University, they have no research facility. You were suiciding. But I have in my mind, my grandfather is a school teacher, my father is a college teacher, and I wanted to be a university teacher. I joined Calcutta University. And that joining in Calcutta University, starting my research as a career, I think I tried my best to do things.
They say that humility is one of the key traits of a leader, and you've shown that, humility and passion. You've shown both of those in abundance in your conversation thus far. You've also mentioned about something which today has become a buzzword, disruption. And you seem to have disrupted very early in life because everything you did was unpredictable. You never walked down the predictable path. You chose to disrupt. So what people are now trying to teach is something you did by personal experience, and that's absolutely quite brilliant. So that brings me to my question, is that as a chancellor and the vice chancellor of Sister Nivedita University, what is the disruption that you've introduced here? And also talk us through the legacy of the university. I mean, it comes from the big powerhouse of Techno India, which is, in terms of East India, it's perhaps the biggest in the field of education.
As I mentioned about the pedagogy in our education system, and this disruptive technology is something what is making us much better. So when we talk about this, think about not a typical curricula which exists for 3 years. Make it a dynamic one. We're teaching a curricula, get the feedback from the students. Students want to do these things. Based on that, you change the curricula. So all these things are going to be a continuous dynamic mode. Let us practice that. And in that way, not only the students, but also faculty members, we also have to understand the changing demands of the new generation, changing demands of our surroundings. This is one thing. The second thing is that generally what we'll have, the science students will take only the science subjects as the subsidiary subjects. But you allow them to take the social science subject, painting or journalism or communication. You know, in the first 2 years, almost no student opted for this because there is a huge guidance from the parents which are actually tells them, if you do this, you may not get a job afterwards. So you have to take physics, chemistry, mathematics. You have to take history and philosophy. So these are all related subjects. But I just wanted to change that. I just wanted that if these things could be changed, and in that way, you put up the history of science as one of the major things in your understanding. You put up the research projects. Even in the social science, even in the English students, why they are not going to do the projects? And those projects are actually, they go to the publishing house, they can go to, so during the summertime, they can go to different places, they can have creative workshops, and the creative writing could be one of the major challenges given to them. So in that way, I think the disruptive understanding of education is going to help our students, our next generation, in a much better way. Students are excited, but you know that nothing could be done. Slowly, it's become reality. And when it will become reality, maybe I have to think a different way.
How refreshing! And I salute you for just having these thoughts and this churn in the mind. It reflects the fertility in thinking. And I often say in my programs that the only thing constant is change, and you seem to be just corroborating that you've got to change at every step. And the only way to become adept is first to adapt and then to adopt. So it's beautiful the way you've been thinking and pursuing your thoughts, which itself is very important. I mean, just having an opinion is one thing, but implementing it to a T is quite remarkable. And I commend you for that, Professor Chattopadhyay. I also want to learn from you. In fact, not just me, all our viewers. And all our viewers will come from different cross-sections of society, of the education society. So I want your spot of advice for A, the student, B, the parent, C, the teacher, and D, the fellow Vice Chancellor.
The students, they should actually must think out of box, which has never been appreciated. And we have to start the learning process in a student-centric learning process. We're talking about personalized medicine. We have to think about the personalized teaching also. So each student have the thirst for different areas, understanding of different things. So you have to do that particular understanding, student-centric teaching. For the teachers, I think it is the most important thing is to understand your student, their need. And so far, what we used to do, we thought that I shall teach this thing to the students and then judge them based on that. Let us actually tell them, this is the area I want to teach you. Go back, have some look, and come back with your questions. I shall answer that. So in that way, the whole way of teaching must be changed, and let us be prepared for that. Parents, please never ever try to force your kids to go for something which they don't like. You have to appreciate their things. You can understand where they are doing something, where they're overdoing, but you have to understand the psyche. A student who is interested in painting cannot be forced to go for chemistry, or cannot actually, you can force him to go for mathematics. Give them the chance. Having painting, mathematics, both are very much related. I always actually try to get the interrelationships. So our teaching should be a cross-disciplinary one, and it should across the discipline we have to train our students. So parents, don't try to force your kids against their will. And then as Vice Chancellor, never be satisfied with what you are doing. Keep your thirst on and do try to understand your community in a much better way so that you can contribute to the community and actually carry on the philosophy of Sister Nivedita, which is actually completely devotion for the others. And thank you, EduMet, actually, for the last 2 days to get myself more concentrating on what I want to say.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant, it's insightful, and it's humbling, all that you say. And I'm so glad that you say it just the way you said it. You've been disruptive, Professor Chattopadhyay, in your own experiences. You've been disruptive in your practice. You've been disruptive in your thoughts. You've been disruptive in your implementation. And you've been disruptive in how you look at the future. And that's exactly what makes you a very refreshing, wise chancellor.